oh, you can come here, but you got to be very careful. You can't be out after dark. You can't go. You got to be careful going to a restaurant or anything after dark.
Republicans are out in force right now trying to justify the military occupation of Washington, D.C., a city that is safe, a city I live in, a city I go out to dinner in, the city that I go out and have cocktails in at night, a city that is safe. And I got to thinking about this before I play this clip of Rick Scott and Doug Burgum and Roger Marshall, that I have lived in this city since January 1st, 2022. We're going on 4 years in this city in just a couple of months, 4 months or so. It'll be 4 years. And the only crime that I have had perpetrated against me and my wife, Brittany Page, the only crime that I've been a victim of came at the hands of a Trump supporter. Remember this voicemail that I received in April of last year. We'll just cue it up and see what you think.
You fucking piece of shit. You're fucking dead. You and your family, motherfucker. You're fucking dead.
Trump supporter called. He told the cop that he watched a video of mine and it upset him to the point that he thought he would call to voice his frustration with my opinion about the dear leader, and instead threatened to murder me and my family. That was crime number one. Crime number two, it came as a second charge when he pleaded guilty to these crimes. The other one, that was at 11/19 last year in April. This was at 11/23.
Your wife is an ugly fucking cunt. We're gonna rape that fucking ugly bitch and kill her, you cocksucker.
Yeah. These are the only crimes I've been a victim of in Washington, D.C., and they came at the hands of a rabid, rape-threatening, murder-threatening Donald Trump supporter. No carjacking. No vandalism. My house has never been broken into. I don't worry about those things. The crime I worry about comes at the hands of Donald Trump supporters, the violent, frothing cult members of Donald Trump. Yeah, anecdotal, absolutely. But when I listen to these GOP politicians, these liars, these hucksters, these grifters, these high priests in the cult of Donald Trump talk about how dangerous and scary Washington, D.C. is, there's two reactions. One, it's just laughable because it's so far out of reality. And the other thing is a little bit of pity because these mighty alpha men who constantly talk about traditional masculinity and men can't be men anymore, and we're tough and we're protectors, they are beside themselves with fear just walking through the streets of Washington, D.C. They are cowards at their core, physical weaklings. I mean, even Big Balls, which set this whole thing into motion, the former Doge staffer who now works for the Social Security Administration, he was punched in the face by a teen, by a child, like a 15-year-old girl punched him in the nose because he's such a weakling. And this is just the embodiment of Rick Scott and Doug Burgum and Roger Marshall. We'll start with Rick Scott.
President Donald Trump has now invoked the home rule designation. He is federalizing Washington, D.C. and, quote, we will bring the military if needed. You spend a lot of time in Washington, D.C. Is D.C. safe, number one? And then number two, do you support this move by President Trump?
Well, first off, D.C. is not safe. People don't just walk the streets in D.C. and feel safe anywhere around D.C. I mean, I've got to be careful in what I do, but I've got people in my office that are very careful about where they go. So this is great what Donald Trump is doing. I'm on a bill with Mike Lee that Congress would take this back. So the president is doing what Congress should be doing. We should be taking this back. So I'm very thankful. Guess what? This is going to be a place where I can tell my grandkids, hey, you want to come here and enjoy the city now. Before I would have to say, oh, you can come here, but you got to be very careful. You can't be out after dark. You got to be careful going to a restaurant or anything after dark. So he's going to change dramatically, DC. It's going to be great.
It is a symbol of national decline and a mockery that our nation's capital is more dangerous than Bogota, Mexico City, Islamabad, Washington, D.C. is more dangerous than Mexico City, Bogota, Islamabad, Lima. I mean, it is a disaster. And I think we should give Washington, D.C. to Maryland for a very important reason. It takes off the 51st state conversation, except for the national monuments.
One, it must be said that all of the B-roll shots that they show while Rick Scott was whining about how afraid he is of everything, that was just tents and homeless people. That was people who are languishing in poverty because their government will not help them, will not lift them out of poverty and assist them in their most dire time of need. Homeless people aren't the cause of crime. Either it's the children who are beating up big balls or it's homeless people. Either it's the 15-year-old girl who was arrested on the scene when Big Balls was punched in the nose, or it's the tent-dwelling homeless people who are just too poor to have a roof over their head. But this is about demonizing and otherizing other Americans. That's what this is about. And let me tell you, people do feel safe to walk the streets of Washington, D.C., Rick Scott. Those of us who aren't paralyzed by fear in a safe city. Let's move on. Donald Trump's Interior Secretary, Doug Burgum, he had similar things to say in an interview on, shocker, Fox News.
It is true, as Alexandria Hoff was pointing out, the crime is down in Washington, D.C., still above pre-pandemic levels. But I don't expect that's much comfort to people like the parents of Eric Tarpinian Yakum, who was gunned down and killed in that drive-by shooting back at the beginning of July.
Well, that's exactly right, John and Sandra. Great to be with you. President Trump, compliments to him again for his leadership. These comments made by the other party are tone deaf to the actual reality of living in this city, and ask any young people that are coming here to try to work for the government. It's already one of the most expensive cities in the world, but it's also now one of the most dangerous cities in the world. And that does impair the function of government. President Trump has every right to declare an emergency. And how Interior is involved is because the U.S. Park Police, which is the nation's oldest federal police organization, formed by George Washington in 1791, has responsibility for the National Mall and all the triangle and circle parks that spread across the D.C. metro area, as well as the parkways that extend into Maryland and Virginia. So they've been on the tip of the spear. And I tell you, the rank and file of the Park Police, the U.S. Park Police, is so happy with President Trump because they're now having a leader that's willing to support enforcing the laws. Under President Biden in this system, many of these federal law enforcement agencies were hamstrung. And already, since President Trump wrote an EO in March 27th of this year declaring that the D.C. was going to be made safe and beautiful, the U.S. Park Police have removed 70 homeless camps that were allowed to exist under the Biden administration and has taken down over 80 instances of graffiti across our beautiful monuments.
Donald Trump has a right to declare an emergency. There's no emergency to declare, Doug. Secondly, thanks for the assist, John Roberts, the propaganda assist. Yeah, murders happen even in rural areas. And if we're going to send the military because one person got killed, tragically, unjustifiably, then what kind of a country are we? We need to run on higher level statistics and where the crime trend is. And how do we deal with there are complex questions here that require complex answers. They don't require military deployment, the federalization of the city. What happened to the 10th Amendment? All of these people are always yammering about. All of these Southerners, the 10th Amendment, states' rights, y'all. That's why the Civil War's fought. It's not hate, it's heritage. What happened to that deeply rooted heritage about protecting the sanctity of states' rights? That any power that is not specifically granted to the federal government or specifically not granted to the states is for the states to possess and wield. What about that? That's the 10th Amendment. That's a paraphrase of the 10th Amendment. All these people, these conservatives who love states' rights, they don't care about them now because they're in a cult. And Donald Trump has no respect for either of the oaths he took to the Constitution. And neither do they. They're liars. And they're here to protect the cult, the interest of the dear leader. There is no emergency. Again, I walk unimpeded, without fear, throughout this city. Are there pockets of the city where there are crime at higher levels? Of course, it's a city. It's where people live. It's the same in any place. It's the same in little tiny towns where more crime happens in some areas than others. That's the lay of the land. That's the way it works. Let's finish with this doozy from Roger Marshall. Some people just shouldn't be given a microphone to talk. And Roger Marshall is one of these guys. Every time he opens up his fucking mouth, something stupid falls out. And it's no different with this clip, propagandizing for Donald Trump.
That these crimes are going to go down. Again, another one of my staff members, his car was parked in front of his apartment, just like 6 blocks from the Capitol, riddled with gunfire from a gang fight. Every week, I hear of some staffer being hurt. We spent one of our steering committee meetings talking about what should we get our employees to protect themselves when they're walking home. This is our nation's capital, for crying out loud. This is where you bring your family and you become a patriot, and it's not safe to be here. So again, I'm just saluting President Trump. More power to him to do whatever it takes to secure our nation's capital. Thanks, President Trump.
This is the nation's capital where you bring your family and become a patriot? What? Roger, are you okay? The thing I worry about right now, the thing I'm afraid of is that I need to get on the phone here and I need to call the authorities, the emergency personnel to do a welfare check to make sure you're okay. What are you talking about? United States Senator. Because your conservative staffers are afraid of DC doesn't make it a thing to be afraid of, doesn't make it dangerous. Your psychic and psychological frailty is not of concern to the rest of us who operate like normal human beings in a city. DC is safe. The stats bear that out. Crime is on the decline. Crime is lower now than it was when Donald Trump was in office the first time. Anyway, all of these idiots. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Comment below in the comment section wherever you see this video. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, did I say as always? I mean, as always, you can email me the old-fashioned way, daily@dollemore.com. Please consider supporting this work, helping produce this program. You can do that for $2 a month. Click the join button below the video on YouTube. I think there's a subscribe button somewhere on Facebook. You can also more betterly, even betterly, so much betterly. It's the last video of the day. I'm tired. You can go to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. They take a way lesser, smaller share of your donation than YouTube or Facebook. And that is the best place to do it. Patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. I love and appreciate you very much. I'll see you next time. We're going to get through this, but it's going to take us sticking together. Be genuine. Take care of one another.